year-end closeout event. Schottenkirk Chevrolet Waukee. Up to $4,500 off. Plus 0% for 72 months on new 18 Silverados, including 2,500 and 3,500. 0% for 72 on Volt, Cruise, and Trax. And 2019 Equinox. New 19 Equinox. $245 per month lease. Only $999 plus taxes and fees. Up to $5,500 off. Plus 0% for 72 on all new Tahoes and Suburbans. Hurry in. Schottenkirk Chevrolet Waukee. WaukeeChevy.com.
Is this guy a contractor who does good work or a contractor who needs work? For a reliable recommendation, trust the Better Business Bureau, protecting consumers for over a century. When you go to bbb.org to check out a business, you'll learn if it's BBB accredited, see its grade on customer service, and read honest, useful reviews from local people. For online recommendations you can trust, start with trust at bbb.org/Iowa.
MidAmerican Energy and you, together partnering to change the energy landscape by pioneering money-saving, energy efficiency programs and building a new industry in Iowa, wind energy, all while keeping your rates low. So what's next? We'll keep delivering cost-effective energy efficiency programs while putting money back in your pocket. That's right. You decide how best to spend your savings. That's a partnership good for you, good for the environment, and good for Iowa. Another way we're obsessively, relentlessly at your service.
Moms typically get to make a majority of the healthcare decisions for their family. That can be a lot of pressure, but not for me. Because I know the choice is ours. For medical tests like MRIs, X-rays, CAT scans, and of course mammograms, ask your doctor to refer you to Iowa Radiology. They work around our hectic schedules. They're the best at what they do, and they're so great with my family. They truly care, and it shows. Visit iowaradiology.com or call to schedule an appointment. Iowa Radiology. Our focus is your good health.
Here's to everyone who believes in competition and good sportsmanship, who knows it's not about the trophies or the medals, but rather the lessons learned. For those who understand, it's not whether you win or lose, just that you give your best. So go ahead, lace them up, take the field, have fun, and play. For the experience, for the memories, for the love of the game. Shields.
Hi, Ron here, head coach of Westside Auto Pros. When your car's on the injured reserve, you want to get it back in the game as soon as possible. I know that. That's why you need to bring it here to Westside Auto Pros. I have a team of experts that can fix almost every automotive injury. Whether it's a fractured joint, a brake, or if your car just got its bell rung, no problem. We can even do a complete physical on your car to make sure it's game ready for the entire season. So bring your car to Westside Auto Pros and we'll get it back in the starting lineup in no time. Hey, you guys are dogging it back here. Let's move it, move it, move it.
You want to get stronger, faster, healthier. You want more. You want to be part of something bigger than yourself. A place for people of all ages, all walks of life, that provides opportunities for all to succeed. We do that. We're the why. Build more than muscle. Build a stronger community.
Labor in Ankeny. I'm Jimmy Olsen, and this week on CISN.TV, I'm going to be chatting with Dar Danielson. We're going to talk about football, recap the season in high school, also volleyball, and then get a quick look on what's he's thinking about the high school basketball coming up for its season as well. Then a little hockey conversation. That's also going to happen tonight. Clayton Sampson going to be talking with former Iowa State hockey coach Al Murdoch. And then Dar Danielson going to be taking over and talking with Tom Wilson, the athletic director and head football coach at Dowling Catholic High School. All that's happening tonight, this week on CISN.TV.
MidAmerican Energy and you, together partnering to change the energy landscape by pioneering money-saving, energy efficiency programs and building a new industry in Iowa, wind energy, all while keeping your rates low. So what's next? We'll keep delivering cost-effective energy efficiency programs while putting money back in your pocket. That's right. You decide how best to spend your savings. That's a partnership good for you, good for the environment, and good for Iowa. Another way we're obsessively, relentlessly at your service.
Black Friday year-end closeout event. Schottenkirk Chevrolet Waukee. Up to $4,500 off. Plus 0% for 72 months on new 18 Silverados. Including $2,500 and $3,500. 0% for 72 on Volt, Cruise, and Trax. And 2019 Equinox. New 19 Equinox. $245 per month lease. Only $999 plus taxes and fees. Up to $5,500 off. Plus 0% for 72 on all new Tahoes and Suburbans. Hurry in. Schottenkirk Chevrolet Waukee. WaukeeChevy.com.
Welcome back to CISN.TV. I'm Jimmy Olsen, and joining me right now is, well, this is like a weird situation for us, Star, but Dar Danielson, you hear him on a lot of the CISN football, basketball, hockey, but normally I'm behind the camera. I mean, soccer, you know, those things.
Softball.
Well, we're talking hockey at some point tonight.
Yeah, we'll be talking hockey. You got hockey in the brain, don't you? Well,
I've got all kinds of things on the brain.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's kind of do a quick recap with everything that you saw from high school football, and kind of like you get to give a little analytic pieces of that where you're normally getting that from others.
Yeah, well, football, of course, Dowling, and we'll talk with the coach coming up, but it looked like they lost a couple games regular season, then it got to the playoffs, and they won again, but it was tight. They went into overtime in one game. They trailed in the championship game, but came back, and so, you know, but a lot of things happened there. Southeast Polk looked like they were, you know, not going to make the playoffs. They do. Then they get a string of upsets and almost get to the championship game. So it was kind of a bruising football season once again. And we get a chance to bring a lot of it to you on CISN.TV every week. Waukee really, you know, finished the season strong. And so some of those teams, and Valley, but still none of them able to knock Dowling off the perch again this year.
They tried, but they just couldn't get it done, though.
Yeah.
So congratulations to Dowling for that. And, of course, with that, I know you guys just a couple weeks ago were in Cedar Rapids for volleyball. How did all that go?
Yeah, fun. It's kind of a grueling day because you're doing a lot of matches kind of back to back to back, but volleyball's always kind of fun, and you see some of these athletes in different modes than what you normally see them, you know. And we saw last night we did the Southeast Polk at Centennial basketball game, and a lot of the athletes on Centennial's team played in that championship. And Centennial back on top in 5A, the big class in volleyball, after they ran off, 3 titles, and then Cedar Falls won, and then now they got back on top there. But well-run tournament, and a lot of good things happened. Of course, my alma mater won again, 4 in a row there, state titles. But it's a fun sport, and it's really grown, and the crowds are really big down there in Cedar Rapids too. There, you know, and so it's fun doing that, and good wrap up in the volleyball season. And now all these athletes and everybody are kind of in transition, moving into basketball from football and volleyball and changing over. And so you'll see some of the early games on CISN.TV. And last night was a good one. Southeast Polk and Centennial, the girls were tight there for quite a while, right up to the end. It ended up being 9-point game, I think, or something like that. But I think we're going to see a lot of that. We're Dowling at Valley on Friday night, basketball doubleheader, and that's going to be a good one, both boys and girls teams there. So Valley, I think, won against East the other night. And, you know, you look at the ratings for girls basketball in 5A, Southeast Polk on top in the preseason. They won again. You know, Johnston, Waukee, City High, Valley, Cedar Falls, Prairie, Iowa City West, Dowling, Centennial, Dubuque, Kempstead, Ames, Des Moines East, Ottumwa, and Davenport North, all in the top 15 to open up the season. That'll change as we go along, but it's
what does it look like for you? I mean, I know it's still early on.
Well, you kind of have 2
really
seasons.
say.
You have
right.
2 seasons kind of in basketball. You get started here and then into December, and then you have that Christmas winter break thing where they have some time off, and then they come back, and then it really, you know, you go full out toward the title at the end of February and early March there. So you kind of get to see, like, that Southeast Polk's beat Centennial, but, you know, Centennial, they're going to adjust and they're going to get better as they go through the season. It's really early on, and that's the one good thing with these coaches and the players. They all adjust and able to get better as the season wears on in basketball. On the boys' side, I haven't had a chance to look at a lot of that yet, but I think some of the same suspects there, Johnston, Valley, Waukee, Dowling, all going to have good teams, you know, and that's one of the things too. They kind of punching each other back and forth here and this side of the state. And then over, I think, eastern side, Cedar Falls is one of the teams, too, that's going to be over there that's going to be one to watch on the eastern side of the state. And, of course, Iowa City schools always do well. So his first part of the season into December, it's kind of adjusting, and then they have a little time off to do some things, and then you come right back in January and you go full tilt into February to finish out the season and go toward the state tournament.
Now, some of that initial adjustment, when you're talking like the 2 seasons there with basketball, I mean, you also have a lot of football players that are playing basketball, and a lot of them are coming in a couple weeks late to practice and all that to really get ready for that first part of it because they're still finishing off football. So is that really one of those pieces that you might look at and say that's why you see the 2 seasons of that, the first one going up, you're going through December, then you get the break off, but then you come back, but by then they're kind of built up, they're ready to go, and they've got basketball in their mind.
Yeah, that's a little bit, because there's a little bit different way you know, muscles and things you use in football and that compared to basketball. And, you know, all the coaches I think you talk to will say they like their athletes playing 2 different sports because you get to do different things and it, you know, you don't get burned out on one or the other. There are still a lot of athletes that specialize, but, you know, and you'll see some of those guys early on with their touch in basketball won't be quite as good coming off of football, but it builds as you go through, you know, the season and gets a little better.
Well, it's kind of like with basketball, with playing football, that's going to help with your speed. I know I got to meet Tim DeWine a couple years ago, a former Iowa Hawkeye, and he was talking about, especially for him, he was doing football, and then in the spring he's doing track.
Right.
Because that really works on that speed, that really picks it up to really help you be fast on the field when it's time, when you get that ball and you can run it.
And and then, you know, we haven't talked about wrestling either, but that's another issue. And then a lot of these football, I know Iowa, they've looked at players who played basketball. Tyler Sash was one that kind of sold him when he played basketball. Iowa State the same way. You see these guys who can play more than one sport and play it well, and then you see, hey, these are guys that we can build them up to play football and, you know, and be better when you get to college. So it gives you a little bit of a clue. You know, they like wrestlers too because they got that balance and they know how to, you know, especially if you're a lineman or and that, you know. So there's a lot of things that these sports and being a well-rounded athlete, the winter sports can bring to you. And then bowling too. Bowling has taken off, I think, and that's another sport that we kind of, you know, sometimes don't think about as much now, but that's really taken off. And
it's kind of really making its way back. I remember when I was a kid, and you know, you had bowling on TV, and you don't see it much anymore. But now schools are starting to bring that back in. Even like with soccer, because me as a child being a soccer, that wasn't really a huge sport. As it's even really getting, and it's building more and more every year.
And
soccer's
gotten bigger. You know, you talked about volleyball. That's one of the, I think the fastest growing girls sport for a while there, and it really gained in popularity. And now, you know, bowling gives you a little bit different aspect of it, and that's one of those sports that you can do all your life too, you know.
Right.
And you don't have to get a bunch of people together to play volleyball, but you can bowl, you know, and other things like that that you can do. So it's going to be interesting to go through this winter season. I think that's what we'll try to do on this show is bring in some of those coaches and other people to talk about those these various sports and things as we go through the season here.
Absolutely. It's going to be high school sports. It's going to be just kind of like a lot of different things, and you can always come out. You can join us here every week. Again, we are at the Thunderhead Sports Bar and Grill on Ore Labor in Ankeny every Wednesday night, 6 o'clock. This is where we are. You can be part of the crowd. I know at some point we'll even be getting questions from those that are here that you can ask the coaches, so you can really be interactive and be part of that as well. In fact, on the way, we're going to be talking hockey. That is what Clayton Sampson's going to do with former Iowa State hockey coach Al Murdoch. That's coming up this week on CISN.TV.
You want to get stronger, faster, healthier. You want more. You want to be part of something bigger than yourself. A place for people of all ages, all walks of life, that provides opportunities for all to succeed. We do that. We're the why. Build more than muscle. Build a stronger community.
Friday year-end closeout event. Schottenkirk Chevrolet Waukee. Up to $4,500 off. Plus 0% for 72 months on new 18 Silverados. Including $2,500 and $3,500. 0% for 72 on Volt, Cruise, and Trax. And 2019 Equinox. New 19 Equinox. $245 per month lease. Only $999 plus taxes and fees. Up to $5,500 off. Plus 0% for 72 on all new Tahoes and Suburbans. Hurry in. Schottenkirk Chevrolet Waukee. WaukeeChevy.com.
Moms typically get to make a majority of the healthcare decisions for their family. That can be a lot of pressure, but not for me, because I know the choice is ours. For medical tests like MRIs, X-rays, CAT scans, and of course mammograms, ask your doctor to refer you to Iowa Radiology. They work around our hectic schedules, they're the best at what they do, and they're so great with my family. They truly care, and it shows. Visit iowaradiology.com or call to schedule an appointment. Iowa Radiology, our focus is your good health.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to CISN.TV. My name is Clayton Sampson, and believe it or not, we're already about 2 months into the hockey season, which in a way is kind of crazy to think about, considering it seems like football just started, and not that long ago I was covering Valley and Dowling games on Friday night. But here we are, and we have 4 local teams that are already about a third of their way through their seasons. And I'm going to give you a quick update on how they're doing so far. And then after that, I'm going to be joined by former Iowa State University head hockey coach Al Murdoch, and I'm going to interview him a little bit and see his thoughts on basically about the history of hockey and the Iowa State program. But we'll start it out tonight with the Des Moines Bucks. The Des Moines Bucks compete in the USHL. They're currently 20 games into their season with a 12-6, 1-1 record. And they're off to a pretty solid start so far, being third in the Western Conference. The success they've had so far has been heavily from left wing Matt Brown. Matt Brown so far throughout the season has 25 points, and that's coming on 15 goals. He's out of Woodridge, New Jersey. And right behind him is TJ Walsh. Walsh has 22 points with 18 of those points coming on assists. And we also have 3 local high school teams in the area, the Ames Little Cyclones, the Des Moines Capitals, and the Des Moines Oak Leafs. They all compete in the Central Division of the Midwest Hockey League, along with Mason City, my alma mater. The Des Moines Capitals are 5-4 to start their season so far, and they had a 7-2 win last week over Mason City. And they're currently 5th in the league. They've been able to rely heavily so far on Clark Kruger, who has 9 goals, 19 points so far. He's averaging over 2 goals a game. And for the Oak Leafs, they're currently 4-5 on the season so far. They're 8th in the league. And they've had a lot of production out of Carter Hobbs, who has 12 points so far in the season. And the Oak Leafs are actually going to be in Ames tomorrow night, taking on the Little Cyclones. And for the Little Cyclones, it's been a little bit of a rough going so far for them. They're starting off the season 0-8, but a win tomorrow night against the Oak Leafs would be huge. And all of these high school teams you can catch all winter long. But, you know, as I go into talking with Al here in a little bit, really, when it comes to Iowa, a lot of people think, you know, with hockey, they think about, you know, our neighbors up north in Minnesota or in North Dakota or in Boston or, you know, all over Canada where you're originally from. And a lot of times hockey gets, you know, overshadowed a little bit in Iowa or put on the back burner because we have, you know, football's big, wrestling's big, basketball's big. But we really do, in the end, have great hockey right here in the state of Iowa. And that's kind of what I'm going to be talking to Al about tonight. Al has had, you know, tremendous success as the Iowa State men's hockey coach. He coached there for 43 years and is the all-time leader in wins in college hockey. And coming here from Canada, I'm just going to start tonight by, I mean, you could probably talk for a long time about the background about yourself, but if you could just give me a brief background and really, I guess, what the state of hockey was like in Iowa when you first came here and first got this program off its feet a little bit.
Oh, man alive. There was hardly any hockey here, but there was, you know, the Des Moines Oak Leafs in the beginning. The International Hockey League team was here, and the Waterloo Blackhawks were the farm team for the Minnesota Pro team for quite a while. So there was lots of spin-offs from that. When I first came, we didn't have a rink in Ames. It was all outdoor ice. And we would come down to the Des Moines Ice Arena and play and practice and organize. And at that time, even grad students could play. So I got to play the first couple of years I was here. But then we made the transition. Hilton Coliseum is open. I helped with some of the fundraising for that facility. The last $100,000 was donated from a backer in Chicago who said, hey, put 10 days of ice in Hilton Coliseum and $100,000 is good. So we played in there 10, 12 years, but it was a bit awkward in that, you know, 4 or 5 days of basketball and 4 or 5 days of hockey and then 4 or 5 days. So it got tough to keep the program rolling. but we had good years in there. We practiced outdoors quite often down at the Des Moines Ice Arena. Then we finally built our own ice arena, the Cyclone Area Community Center, and I was just always battling to make sure we had ice programs. So I helped start the minor hockey program in Ames on an outdoor tennis court, and they moved into the rink. I started curling. We got some curling stones from Duluth, Minnesota.
Nice.
They were building a curling rink, a new curling rink there, and they put an ad in the paper if we were willing to pay for anybody willing to pay for the shipping of the old curling stones, they could have them for free.
That's
well,
awesome.
those suckers, they're about 44 pounds a piece. So the shipping wasn't cheap, but I got a trucking company that donated a truck to get them down to Ames. So we had curling, we had kids hockey, we had figure skating. Marilyn Muhlenpohl was here in Des Moines. She was a former, I think, ice capade skater. Get her to come up to Hilton Coliseum, and all of a sudden we had 300-400 kids learning how to skate, figure skating. A couple hundred kids learning how to play hockey.
Oh, wow.
And then we got all the age levels. And, of course, Mason City was right behind us. They started outdoors and moved indoors.
Good place.
And, Sioux City, Waterloo, Des Moines always been a hotbed for hockey, and it's continued to grow. We actually hosted the first state high school hockey championship in Hilton Coliseum. And that was an exciting time, and over the years we played a lot of games in there. So, over the years, the Kruger family has contributed a lot to hockey. I know they've still got some kids playing, and, that's excellent. My oldest son, Sean, he played for the Des Moines Buccaneers for 2 years, and then as a result of that, he got offered to play hockey at Brown University in the Ivy League.
Okay.
So, incredible. My youngest son, Andrew, I thought he'd go the same route because he played junior hockey as well, and ended up, he came into my office one day and he said, well, I've checked out all the schools like Sean and, Brown University, Wisconsin, Notre Dame, and I've come to the conclusion that there's a darn good academic program, which I sell academics.
Yeah.
And with a darn good academic program and a pretty good coach, as I understand it, I thought, oh, who's he talking about? Jeff Sauer at Wisconsin maybe, or somebody else? He said, no, Al Murdoch, Iowa State. So he actually came and played for me for 4 years. He's never really leveled with me how that was. I think it had to be tough playing for his dad. But
we'll have to ask him sometime.
Yeah, he was exceptional. And, we had a lot of the guys from that era, early 2000s, that we were asked to go to the World University Games in Zakopane, Poland. And USA Hockey asked me if I would be head coach and put together a team. So as a result of that, we went to Zakopane. I think the first game we got waxed, but the second game was against the Russians.
And you beat them, you said.
And I remember, being in the arena, and the Russian coaches were over on the sideline watching us get waxed, I think, by the Czech Republic. And I saw them leave at the end of the first period.
Well, anytime you can beat the Russians, that's good.
Yep. And we came back the next night, and we beat them. It was unbelievable.
That's awesome. Well, now I was going to go into asking you, you had mentioned earlier about the Kruger family, and I had said earlier how Clark Kruger is having a great season for the Capitals so far with 9 goals already. What I was going to bring up is you've had all this success at Iowa State. You brought this program, basically lifted it off the ground. You have over 1,000 wins. You were able to compete in the university games. And I know it's a question that's probably hard for you at some times, but what's been the biggest challenge for you and the University of Iowa program getting an NCAA affiliate?
Yeah.
I know that's a struggle you've had when I was reading up on you. And that's a tough, what criteria do you really got to meet, or what's the biggest hurdle you have to get over?
There were several hurdles. The first hurdle, when I first came, I thought, heck, year or two we'll be Division I NCAA.
Yeah.
Playing against Minnesota, North Dakota, teams like that. And so I met with the athletic director, and he said, no, you got to prove to me you can survive and play and handle a budget. Mm-hmm. And so I said, well, I'll show you that. So for 2 or 3 years, we played a lot of games in Hilton Coliseum. Our budget got really rolling, and then I went back in front of the athletic council, and I thought I had it sold, but they said, hey, gender equity is a big question, so we got to have women's hockey as well as men's hockey, and can you handle that budget? So I went out, and we had something like 78 girls show up for the women's club hockey team tryout, and that was a good group. They put together 2 or 3 teams, and then when I went in, to sell the final push, they said, well, really, you got to have a standalone facility, facility so you're not in conflict with basketball and all the other sports. And so I went to work on that and fundraising, and we got the students behind us. They gave us a couple $1 million.
Oh, wow.
I got the city to pass a bond issue for another couple of $1 million. I had Herb Brooks come down. He was a good friend, and Bob Johnson helped as well.
That's not a bad name.
Good names, man alive. We lost both guys. Bob Johnson died from cancer, and Herb Brooks, of course, in that single car accident. That was a dark day.
Yeah.
But worked really hard. A guy by the name of Joe Batista was the hockey coach at Penn State, and we were in the same level, top of the non-scholarship programs.
Yeah.
And Batista said, "Geez, Murdoch, you're out selling all the time. How do you do it? What's your sales pitch?" And I said, "Well, I go into a successful business, and they're thinking I'm going to ask them for $500 or $1,000,
Yeah.
and I just tell them, get your checkbook out, write that check for $100 million, and we'll be Division I."
Hey, that'll work.
Joe Batista called me a year or two later, and he said, "Al, I've been using your line. I talked to this guy at the summer hockey school, and he said, 'Hey, what do you have to do to play all the Division I scholarship schools?'
Yeah.
And he said, 'Get your checkbook out and write it for $100 million. My buddy Al Murdoch said to do that, and we'll be Division I."
Just $100 million. That's not too bad.
You bet. And so what's the guy's name that gave $100 million to Penn State, that owns the Buffalo Bills and the Buffalo Sabres? And I forget his name, but he had sold some oil property, so $100 million wasn't much for him. So it was something where Penn State just, bam, all of a sudden they're Division I. And I think, if I'm correct, they're ranked like 6th or 7th in the nation right now.
Yeah, they are. They're doing well. And I was going to ask you, just before we're about to wrap up here soon, but before we wrap up, I was just going to go into your son Andrew has a young one starting to play hockey, and I'm sure you started Andrew when he was young. What would be just a quick advice before we wrap up of anybody in the area that may not have the experience in hockey or may not? What would be your advice? We were talking about Pete earlier about skating in the parking lot, flooding the parking lot.
Oh, you bet.
What's your just quick advice?
It's cold enough right now. Andrew would have been here tonight too, because he likes doing stuff like this. But he's skating on outdoor ice. He flooded his backyard. He's got one of those self-contained ice sheets, and I think all the neighborhood kids are probably over at Andrew's place
can imagine.
right now.
That's a fun place.
So that's the future generation of success, and I go out and I watch them play. It was just a couple of weeks ago they had this net fest at Wells Fargo Arena.
Oh yeah,
all the little kids playing. It was unbelievable. They had 2 games going on at a time, and holy cow, it was a riot. But that's the future generation. I commend the Iowa Wild for helping promote that, and all the people that are involved. So, yeah, Reed is 6 years old in the minor hockey program in Ames. Brendan is his cousin, played for Sean, who played for the Buccaneers, is out in New York playing in Little League there. So hopefully I'll live long enough to see those 2 guys playing college and pro hockey.
Yeah, Reed's a fun kid, and there you have it. We got the future of hockey right here in Central Iowa. This has been Al Murdoch. It's been a pleasure having him on our show. We're going to go to a quick commercial break, but coming back, we're going to have Dowling Catholic head football coach Tom Wilson with DAR. This has been CISN.TV.
Is this guy a contractor who does good work or a contractor who needs work? For a reliable recommendation, trust the Better Business Bureau, protecting consumers for over a century. When you go to bbb.org to check out a business, you'll learn if it's BBB accredited, see its grade on customer service, and read honest, useful reviews from local people. For online recommendations you can trust, start with trust at bbb.org/Iowa.
MidAmerican Energy and you, together partnering to change the energy landscape by pioneering money-saving, energy efficiency programs and building a new industry in Iowa, wind energy, all while keeping your rates low. So what's next? We'll keep delivering cost-effective energy efficiency programs while putting money back in your pocket. That's right, you decide how best to spend your savings. That's a partnership good for you, good for the environment, and good for Iowa. Another way we're obsessively, relentlessly at your service.
Black Friday year-end closeout event. Schottenkirk Chevrolet Waukee. Up to $4,500 off. Plus 0% for 72 months on new 18 Silverados. Including $2,500 and $3,500. 0% for 72 on Volt, Cruise, and Trax. And 2019 Equinox. New 19 Equinox. $245 per month lease. Only $999 plus taxes and fees. Up to $5,500 off. Plus 0% for 72 on all new Tahoes and Suburbans. Hurry in. Schottenkirk Chevrolet Waukee. WaukeeChevy.com.
Welcome back to the Thunderhead in Ankeny. Dar Danielson with you here on CISN.TV. Thanks for joining us tonight. And Joining me now is Tom Wilson, the head coach of the Dowling Catholic football team, also athletic director. Wears a couple of hats there.
Yeah.
And congratulations, another title this year. Oh, hard-fought one this year, too, with an overtime game and then coming from behind. And let's first talk about it. I mean, you've had to work on this for 6 years in a row now. Do you talk about that going into the season, you know, with the new team coming in? Every year's a new team, but you talk about, well, we won the title, we have the string going, and we want to keep it going. Or how do you address that when you start the new year each year?
You know, honestly, we don't spend a lot of time talking about that. I think, you know, as the kids could get overwhelmed just by that in itself. And really our focus is more on day by day and trying to get better. And we replaced so many kids from the year before. And so we were just trying to, you know, find the right pieces to the puzzle and keep working and keep moving forward. And, you know, it took us a while, and then the kids started to gel at the end. But, you know, that gets overwhelming if we just talk about championships. It's more about, you know, how can we make us better week by week and day by day.
Because I know people out there, and especially fans, they get to thinking, well, we won and we got to win every game, and you know, and of course they don't see practice every night and know the players and how you develop, and they just think about it that way, and then you lost 2 games during the regular season. But was there ever any worry in that when you lost a couple games, or were you have a schedule and okay, we just need to move ahead and keep doing what we do?
Well, a little bit of both, I think, to answer your question. You know, obviously there was some concern, and you know, we opened with Waukee, which they ended up having a great year, but we were able to get a win there. And then, you know, we got knocked down a couple of pegs because Valley just flat out beat us at Drake Stadium, and they were better than us that night. And then we shut out a good Johnston team, and that gave us a little bit more confidence. And then, you know, we kind of felt like we didn't play up to our capabilities the next weekend, and then Centennial beats us. So then we're sitting there 2-2, and we certainly have a plan moving forward, but we really had to find ourselves. And you know, we were working some different kids in, trying to figure out what's the best mesh. But the bottom line is we just needed leadership to step up within our team, and we needed kids to play better. And you know, I think when we got ready to play Ankeny in week 5, which, you know, also had a good year and made the playoffs, and we were able to get a very good win then, I thought that gave us a lot of confidence and was really a turning point in our season.
That leadership part of it, does that happen where, you know, a lot of times you think, well, the junior that's becoming the senior or some of those older kids are going to step up, or is it something sometimes the coaches say, hey, we think this kid is the guy that, you know, can step out there and handle all the, you know, the pressure of being the leader and that, or, you know, a little bit of both when it comes to that, developing that leadership?
I think it's a little bit of both. You know, obviously most teams have captains, and that's really an appointed position, and that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be a great leader. And you know, we've have other kids that aren't captains that they earn it, and I think that's the big thing is from a leadership standpoint, you have to earn that role, and sometimes kids just need to be able to have the confidence to step forward and talk about what they believe in or take that risk of leadership. And it's something that we try to teach throughout the course of the year, but you can't read about it, or you can't you know, until they go through that, it's really not going to make sense to them. And I think it took time. We had such good leaders really the year before, John Wagner, Blake Clark, Mitch Riggs, that these juniors didn't have to lead. And then when they became seniors, we needed them. And I think they needed to sort that out in their own head before they could really come forward.
And I think I noticed, too, when I got to the playoffs and you guys had got some wins strung together, and it just seemed like the playoffs, there's that feeling that, yeah, we're confident. We've been here before. We know how to win. We're not afraid of stepping out and taking a chance. And, you know, if we miss a play or the other team beats us, okay, but we put it all out there. And that kind of seems like that's what I saw out of your guys, on the sideline, that Valley game. And when it came to the playoffs, with that tradition behind you a little bit, that helps too, because it seemed like a feeling that, okay, we can step out and not be afraid. If we win another title, okay. If we don't, we played our best, and we got there again. And
honestly, that was really the philosophy. Is, you know, you talked about the championship part of it, and honestly, that can get paralyzing. And really, what we talk to our kids about is, hey, let's let it all hang out. And if you could look the man in the mirror when you're done, and if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, you have no regrets. And that's really how we tried to approach it. and obviously it worked out. But the confidence piece is so huge. Playing Fort Dodge in round one, we had a great deal of respect for them. They had a fantastic offense, and we were able to shut them out, which we grew a lot there. And from a confidence standpoint, which it would have been easy for us to look at a possible matchup with Valley looming the next week, but we didn't. And then, when we get a chance to play Valley again, it's one game that we certainly wanted because, as I mentioned, they outplayed us the first time, and we thought we had better, and we thought we could prove that.
And then it comes to the overtime games, and then, defense kind of stepped up, and they say defense wins championships, but you also have the offense moved in there. But it seemed like your defense really had the times when you needed to get the ball back or needed the big plays and the stops. They stepped up, didn't they?
They did, and our defense was fantastic the entire year. Coach Bossum and the rest of that staff, I can't say enough good things about them and what they did. And even in the games that we lost early in the year, they didn't give up many drives. It was a lot of times our offense putting us in bad positions, and that backfired on us. So they basically did what they did the entire year. The playoff game, and it took us time to adjust to Bettendorf. Bettendorf was a fantastic team. It took us some time to adjust to that. Once we did, our defense played very well, and that allowed us to get back in the ball game. And obviously, most of, especially our fans, remember the stop in the fourth overtime to give us the win.
What is it like? I mean, the goal every year is to win the title, but you've won a few in a row. Is there any one? Is the first one mean more, or the sixth one, or because it's a whole different group of kids that you get to see change and grow. We talked about that through the season, so they all probably got to be a little bit different, don't they?
Well, there's no question. They're all special. I think the group that gets forgotten is the 2010 team because they're not strung together with anybody, and so then we, before my time, Dowling wins in 2000, 2001. So it was back-to-back. Then we went in 2010, and then we've won the last 6 in a row. So all of them are special. They've got their own unique characteristics, but they only have their own story, and so that's what makes it fun.
I was reading a book about the 1956 Maynard basketball team, how they came and they were the underdog, small town, won the state title. Next year they finished second, then came back and won the state title. And they were talking in the book about, that first year we won, we were the underdogs. Everybody, second year, by the time we got to the third year, everybody said, they've been here too much, and let's root for the other team. And I'm sure you get some of that, they want it's Dowling again, and everybody wants to root for the other team, and all that. Especially now on social media, there's things like that. And you see that. How do you handle that? And the players see that, us against the world, or do you get much of that?
To a certain extent. I can remember telling our kids before the championship game that there's nobody in this state that wants you to win outside of this community, and it is what it is. And our kids understand that the target gets bigger and bigger all the time, and I knew what I signed up for when I took the job at Dowling. And now that we have this tradition, as I mentioned, the target gets bigger and bigger, and it's just something we have to deal with.
And talk about it too, what is the stat? The last so many championships, it's been Valley or Dowling over. I don't remember what the numbers are exactly. Yeah. Or Ankeny. Right. It's been on this side of the state for quite a while here, right. and that says a little bit about the type of competition you go through here, just in playing to try to get to the title, isn't it?
You're absolutely right, and iron sharpens iron, and we've got a lot of good players, a lot of good coaches, some tremendous programs, and not that they don't on the other side of the state, but I think we make each other better over here, and I think that's why you see the stat that you do.
We're talking with Tom Wilson. He's the head coach of Dowling Catholic football team. We're going to take a break here, and we'll come back. We'll talk about wrap up the football, maybe talk about a little bit more of the winter sports that are going on. Use your hat of the athletic director, activities director, and talk about that a little bit. You're watching the CISN.TV at the Thunderhead Bar in Ankeny.
You want to get stronger, faster, healthier. You want more. You want to be part of something bigger than yourself. A place for people of all ages, all walks of life, that provides opportunities for all to succeed. We do that. We're the why. Build more than muscle. Build a stronger community.
Is this guy a contractor who does good work or a contractor who needs work? For a reliable recommendation, trust the Better Business Bureau, protecting consumers for over a century. When you go to bbb.org to check out a business, you'll learn if it's BBB accredited, see its grade on customer service, and read honest, useful reviews from local people. For online recommendations you can trust, start with trust at bbb.org/Iowa.
Back here on CISN.TV at the Thunderhead in Ankeny, and our first show. You get to be the first guest, so
That's
if
good.
things go downhill, we blame it on you. No. Tom Wilson here. He's the head football coach at Dowling, also the athletic director. And is that tough to balance? Is it tougher during football season or after football? Because after football, you just throw the pads in the locker and wait till August, right?
Yeah.
No.
Well, there's not a lot of downtime. I'm pretty lucky. With my assistants, Mary Pick, Mike O'Connor during the fall, and obviously there's AD duties during the day, but the evening things, Coach O'Connor takes care of, and then he's coaching basketball now in the winter, so that becomes my duties, and Mary keeps us straightened out throughout the course of all of it. So sometimes it's a juggling act, but get used to it by now.
Then we have, let's talk about that. We have basketball coming up, and we'll have Dowling at Valley on Friday night here on CISN.TV, and girls team I know is ranked. The boys team, I don't think they've come out with any rankings yet, have they?
We'll be near the top 10, but
Yeah.
it's going to be two great matchups. Honestly, a lot of talent on the floor. You look at the girls' side. Caitlin Clark is really the one talked about most for us, and I know they've got Zoe Young and the Honnold girl, and they've got plenty of athletes over there too. So on the girls' side, should be a fantastic ball game.
And we talk about that and Caitlin Clark and Zoe Young, but it's those supporting players, whether it be football, basketball, soccer, anything that help with those stars too. That's a big part of being a winning team too, isn't it? Having those other kids develop.
Oh, you're right, and and I know we're trying to develop our supporting cast, and I mentioned the Honnold girl from Valley. I'm not so sure she might not be the best athlete in the CIML, and I think softball's her deal, but I noticed her first on the basketball court. So again, that supporting cast will be huge, and the Division I girls may neutralize themselves a little bit.
Yeah, and I've seen Caitlin Clark play soccer, and it's like, wow, it's almost which is better, is basketball or soccer with her too, And then you have wrestling getting underway too. And what do you see as far as the wrestling team this year?
We do, and we open Thursday. Atumwa and Waukee come to our place. Waukee has had a great program the last several years, and our guys are still trying to develop. Really led by Greg Hagan, who was a state runner-up a year ago, started for us at center for 2 years on our football team, and he's going to Indiana to wrestle, and he's kind of our main guy. Carson Murray is ranked in the early stages, so hopefully that group can continue to grow. I wanted to take a step back and mention the boys basketball also on Friday night. That should be another terrific game. Valley has had great teams certainly the last several years. We're a little bit young and started practice a little bit late. But we had a tough game last night against Iowa City West, but I think that group could be pretty good before it's all said and done.
Yeah, we're talking a little bit about that early on, Jimmy and I, about transitioning from football to basketball, and it takes a little while sometimes because there's different muscles and different things you use. But and we've also talked about how a lot of coaches like having the athletes play more than one sport and not specializing, because it gives them something else, and you don't get burned out on the one, and you get to use different muscles and different kind of things. And I'm assuming you kind of like that too, don't you?
Oh, there's no question. And we at Dowling, we need to have multi-sport athletes. We don't have enough kids to where we can specialize, and we fight that some, and you just try to educate people of what is best, and certainly people have their own opinions, but I look at a Jack Keogh, who was started inside linebacker. Well, he's the point guard for our basketball team. Jack Lyman also starts on our basketball team. Ryan Riggs is a basketball starter, was in our football program, and so and there are others, Matt Stillwell. So it's really big for us, and I think the big thing is getting their bodies healed up a little bit. Keogh was beat up, playing a linebacker and playing 13 ball games. That takes its toll, and then now I see him on the basketball court last night. So it's a transition. It's a different shape. It's tough on them, but those guys are competitors, and I think that's the best thing about it. As they go from one sport to the other, they can help both programs.
And then we talk about there's swimming too, boys swimming, is it?
Yep, boys swimming, strong program. Coach Spike has done a great job. Nick Chase really is the leader of that group. He's committed and signed to go to Notre Dame and swim, and there's others that'll have fantastic years, but they should be really, really solid as well.
Bowling too? Is that?
Bowling, we got boys and girls bowling, and that has started. They've had meets, and so really we're really in full swing right now.
Now, do you try to get out to a bunch of these games, or what? That keeps you busy every night almost, doesn't it?
It does, and basketball takes most of your time because we're at home and away. They expect somebody to be there, so
right.
I'm at those. And really, swimming I stop in, bowling I try to stop in here or there, and wrestling. If it's home, I'll be there. Sometimes I go to the away ones. So, all of us athletic directors are really in the same boat as we go from event to event. And
I know you mentioned that and the different guys that we work with, and you guys are, well, I think there's a big rivalry, but no, you're all, professionals. You talk with each other, and it's kind of a, I don't know what you say, a fraternity or not, but it's you guys really talk about a lot of stuff and share things and work together on things, don't you?
We do. We have monthly CIML meetings. We're all dealing with the same issues, and so it's good to bounce things off of peers and people that understand where you're coming from. And we're really blessed in this area within this conference to have the ADs and the leadership that we do. I think they do a great job, and I've got a great deal of respect for them, and they truly care about their schools and their programs.
Is that one of the bigger issues, is the competition? I know football, they've changed that around a little bit and just trying to make it, fair for everybody and the size of schools and things. And then I don't know if that carries over so much to the other sports, but are those some of the bigger issues you face in trying to get the schedules and things together?
Schedules is definitely it. Reorganization of the CIML, most recently, Ankeny breaking into 2 schools. Right. Waukee's going to do the same thing. As Dallas Center Grimes or a Norwalk grows, what does that mean? And so there's some logistics that way, and as you mentioned, the scheduling, but just other policies and making sure everybody is on the same page and we're staying consistent and giving the best experience we can to the student athletes at each of the schools.
So what do you do when you want to just, get away from sports a little bit, clear your head, get out there? What do you do when you're not have the football coach hat on, the activities director hat on? What do you do?
Well, I've got 3 kids of my own, and my youngest is a 6th grader, and so he still keeps us busy. I like to get on the golf course once in a while, and if I can sneak down to Florida every once in a while, I'm pretty good. So.
You do a little golf and then do that, yeah. So, well, we appreciate you joining us here tonight. It's been fun to watch this, and are we going to say right now guaranteed title number 7? Or
I would never say that. I haven't guaranteed anything yet.
Yeah, you can't do that, can you? Because about the time you do, and you don't know. But and it's going to be fun, I think, the basketball season and seeing how that develops in wrestling and all that sports. But again, we appreciate you joining us here, Tom.
I appreciate being here, and the support for our student athletes around the area is fantastic. So much appreciated.
It's Tom Wilson. He's the head football coach at Dowling, also the athletic director here. We're live on CISN.TV at Thunderhead in Ankeny. We're going to take a break and come back with more after this on CISN.TV.
Here's to everyone who believes in competition and good sportsmanship, who knows it's not about the trophies or the medals, but rather the lessons learned. For those who understand, it's not whether you win or lose, just that you give your best. So go ahead, lace them up, take the field, have fun, and play. For the experience, for the memories, for the love of the game. Shields.
Friday year-end closeout event. Schottenkirk Chevrolet Waukee. Up to $4,500 off. Plus 0% for 72 months on new 18 Silverados, including 2,500 and 3,500. 0% for 72 on Volt, Cruise, and Trax. And 2019 Equinox. New 19 Equinox. $245 per month lease. Only $999 plus taxes and fees. Up to $5,500 off. Plus 0% for 72 on all new Tahoes and Suburbans. Hurry in. Schottenkirk Chevrolet Waukee. WaukeeChevy.com.
Moms typically get to make a majority of the healthcare decisions for their family. That can be a lot of pressure, but not for me, because I know the choice is ours. For medical tests like MRIs, X-rays, CAT scans, and of course mammograms, ask your doctor to refer you to Iowa Radiology. They work around our hectic schedules, they're the best at what they do, and they're so great with my family. They truly care, and it shows. Visit iowaradiology.com or call to schedule an appointment. Iowa Radiology, our focus is your good health.
Welcome back to the Thunderhead Sports Bar and Grill here on CISN.TV. Dar Danielson, and joining me now is Andy Pollock. And you might have heard him with me last night as we did the Southeast Polk at Centennial basketball games, doubleheader there, and kind of wrapping up the football and moving into basketball and slowly getting there. The cold weather kind of helps you think a little bit more about basketball.
It helps, right?
Wrestling this time of year, but let's talk a little bit about that. Last night we saw Southeast Polk come out with preseason #1, and they won. They jumped out early and then hung on, but we can obviously see they got a lot of talent there. And then Centennial right with them for the most part, tried to make a run back, but couldn't get all the way back. But they got a good team too. And you look at all the rankings, there's going to be a lot of good teams in the CIML here this season.
Oh, for sure, and there always has been. I mean, every year we talk about the talent that comes from Central Iowa, especially in girls basketball, and it shows the amount of recruits. Division I, really all levels, but Division I especially, those are the ones that get noticed. Last night we saw one of the top recruits in the state, Maggie McGraw, for Southeast Polk, and the way she runs that offense, the way she's able to get things going in transition for Southeast Polk, been a very welcome addition for them. Fits in well with the other pieces that they have. They run the court so well, but as Centennial forced them into a half-court game, they showed that they can score in the half-court game as well. So McGraw so quick off the dribble, and her passing is really what makes her unique. She's able to get rid of the ball so quick when a girl comes open. So, and we talked Centennial last night too. Their length is going to cause some people some issues. They're tall across the board. They don't have that 6'3", 6'4" type player, but they've got a lot of 5'11", 6 foot, 6'1", and very physical type ball players too.
A lot of the pieces that work together there.
For sure, very much so.
Centennial, and then you look at Johnston, Waukee, right up there, Valley, and then on the eastern side of the state, Cedar Falls and Cedar Rapids Prairie, Iowa City West, all right up there. And then Friday night we'll have Dowling at Valley.
Yeah, a couple good players
Tom
playing
was just
then
mentioned, Caitlin Clark and Zoe Young, and Caitlin Clark has been one of those. She's been in the spotlight since the very beginning. It seems like people watching her in basketball, and from everything I've seen and heard of her, she seems like she handles that pretty well.
Yeah, and what makes her special is her strength. I mean, she can get a shot up anywhere. That's what it was fun to watch her really develop over the last couple of years, going into her junior season right now. But she can penetrate. She moves so fluidly, and the strength to get a shot up literally from anywhere on the court. She can get a shot up, and sometimes you wonder, what is she doing that for? And then it's swish right through. So there's just a lot of things that go into making her that complete player. Really a national recruit at this level.
Zoe Young kind of the same way. She's kind of now, they won the title, was it 2 years ago, and now she's kind of stepped up more of that leadership role. And for her, it's, do I drive it to the hole, or do I shoot the long one, or
Yeah, and
then when is the time appropriate, and learning that as you mesh in with the new players too.
Sure, and again, a national recruit, Zoe Young, and what she's been able to do again with a strength, and that's the interesting part, to see how girls basketball has developed. The skill set obviously has to be there, but these girls know where the weight room is, and that's a big part that's come into girls athletics over the course of the last, really within the last 5 years, especially. I mean, it's always been a part of it, but a renewed continued emphasis on the weight room, the off-season conditioning that goes into it. And Zoe Young and Caitlin Clark, two girls that, like I said, it's their strength that sets them apart. And we saw it last night, too. We've seen it in the volleyball court as well with some national-type recruits. We watch Ankeny Centennial. I mean, you watch those girls come on the court, and they definitely know where the weight room is. And it's really what's led to a lot of success for these schools. The girls know that their sports are not a 3-month out of the year type thing. It's something that they're doing all season long. Not their sport per se, but the cross training that goes into it. So. And then you talk. People say, well, strength. What do you need strength for basketball? Well, that 3-point line is out there ways, and the stronger you are to get those shots off, and the legs, the core, the arms, to hit those shots. That's a big part of it too. Yeah. And there's a different type of strength than football and basketball and wrestling. They all have a little bit different thing there, and training for that is important. Yeah, not only that, but the physicality that goes with the rebounding, what officials allow to go on anymore, and it's made the game very entertaining, right? As we watch basketball, we don't want all the ticky-tack things called. It really destroys the flow of the game, but the physicality that goes on throughout the course of the game, we saw in the boys' game last night, extremely physical game between Southeast Polk and Centennial, and they can't call everything, and when you're stronger, it looks more effortless. To get away with some of that stuff. So and sometimes too with the size, it seems like it's worse than what it is too. When you're going in there, and that's always when you're an official. Just because a guy's bigger, that doesn't mean he's necessarily correct. Fouling someone, he's just a little bit bigger size and gets in there. And we saw that size really last night with Centennial. I mean, they've got some guys on the court too that look jacked. That's the best way to put it. That they know where the weight room is, and we're going to see that with a lot of the teams that we cover this year on the Central Iowa Sports Network. I mean, it's not that those days of and there's going to be the longer. Obviously, that's a big part of basketball. The longer guys, but those guys aren't just guys that you might draw this chance from the student section. Where's the weight room? Because these guys, it's pretty obvious around here that all these guys know where the weight room is, and the amount of facilities that have blossomed. I know the in-school strength conditioning programs are very good as well, and then there's these out-of-the-school type training facilities that have sprung up as well, and a lot of your elite athletes in the area are taking advantage of that. We've got some great resources available in this area, and a lot of the kids are taking advantage of that. Well, your dad has got young girls coming up, and the question always is, well, how much sports or how much time do you put into that, and that's when they're young, especially how much do you get them involved in, and he smiles because I know your girls are involved in a lot of stuff, but that becomes an issue, doesn't it? Because there's so many now different teams you can be on, and you can play one sport year round, or do you specialize in that, and it becomes a big question for parents out there, doesn't it? And I'm fortunate I've been able to network with a lot of coaches, a lot of very successful coaches around the area, and they know that when they see me, I'm going to wear them out with questions. and one of the biggest questions I always have is, what do you expect out of these kids? How much time do you expect them to devote to your sport? And we are blessed in Central Iowa with some awesome coaches at both the girls and the guys level, and awesome coaches in the fact that not only do they win a lot of games, but they understand that really the multi-sport athlete is a way to go, and that's finding that balance of developing your skill set in one particular sport, but also understanding the competition that comes with the other sports, maybe putting the body into some uncomfortable positions that they don't otherwise get put in other sports, maybe in some more competitive situations that they don't get in maybe their main sport. That's a big deal, and it really shows how girls and guys can rise to the level of competition. Yeah, because you can go for something like football where, maybe you're in the line in that you're playing, but you don't get as noticed. But when you're basketball out there dribbling one-on-one, then everybody's eyes, you get exposed in a hurry. Yeah, and you don't have the helmet on, and people see what you're doing, and it's a little bit different stage to be on, isn't it? And some of the best players around, I mean, you look all over the place, and some of your best players in every sport are the ones that are multi-sport athletes. Mm-hmm. Sure, you're going to have your ones that are dedicated to their one sport, and there's always going to be that. And with the advent, and I do think club sports have their place, but with the advent of that, there's a lot more specialization because of the ability to play in the same sport all year round. But there's also that time that you need to be having your body do different motions. There's a time to learn to take criticism or take coaching from a different coach in a different sport and see, how can this girl or guy be able to be coached in a different way. And so it's very important. I know I'm fortunate to be around, coaching, and then also, but to see my girls go to a school where you see a lot of multi-sport athletes.
Then as a parent, knowing that you're kind of a coach too, and you're a dad, how do you, stay from being the helicopter dad or helicopter coach that's right in there, and coach, no, my daughter should be playing in that, because I know when my kids were, I never want to see them come out of the game. It's just natural, I didn't want to come out of the game, and it's tough sometimes in being that parent and sitting back, and sometimes we see too much of that where the parents get involved, don't we?
You mentioned helicopter parent. I had a close friend of mine mention not too long ago, there's a new term out there, it's called lawnmower parent, and the lawnmower parent actually takes down all the obstacles in front of instead of the helicopter parent that's around all the time, the lawnmower parent takes down all the obstacles in front of their kids to make it the easiest they can possibly be for them. And I've said it many times, but I really think as a parent in a nice area that we are in Polk County, if we do our jobs right, quite possibly the hardest situation that one of our kids may ever be in is an 0-2 count. And if we can do that as parents, then that's where sports really become a very important teaching tool and teaching our kids to those adverse situations. And we're so fortunate to be in an area that we are, but to see a situation where how does my child rise to the level of either their competition, how do they respond when they face some adversity? And that's, again, where I think being a multi-sport athlete really comes into play, because if I've got a daughter that's really talented at volleyball and my kids, I'm fortunate, my kids enjoy playing a lot of sports, so it's been fun as a parent to go to those. But, okay, how does she respond now if she's really good at volleyball? How does she respond when she's on the basketball court when it may not be her best sport, and that's going to make her a better volleyball player down the road? How does she respond to an 0-2 count in softball? Is she going to battle them off? Is she going to watch that pitch that the pitcher throws her the meatball or throws her one on the outside corner that may not look good, but she's going to take it? It's really important to see how your kids respond in a myriad of situations.
And the thing, too, is, it'd be great if our kid won a scholarship to go play sports. But
absolutely.
Figure
that one out.
Those are real hard to get, and there's a very small amount that get them. And then even when you get a scholarship, that doesn't mean you're going to be a star in college, because then you go into the best of the best. But sometimes that gets lost, and, if I specialize and I do this, I'm going to get the scholarship and be able to play. And I think you talked about girls more training, the opportunities have opened up more too for girls. Absolutely. As far as college and things to do, whether it be soccer or basketball, softball, and all that too. But you just gotta, and I know it's hard when everybody sees their kid as special and
with social media it's tough, because you see you log into any social media on Sunday afternoon, you see all these pictures of trophies everywhere, and if your kid wasn't one on that Sunday that won the trophy, you feel a little so there's a lot of opportunities there.
Well, we appreciate you joining us. We're going to hope to get more people on and talk about more sports and more things throughout the weeks ahead on this show. But appreciate it, Andy Pollack, joining us here on CISN.TV. We'll take a break and come back and wrap it up after this.
Hi, Ron here, head coach of Westside Auto Pros. When your car's on the injured reserve, you want to get it back in the game as soon as possible. I know that. That's why you need to bring it here to Westside Auto Pros. I have a team of experts that can fix almost every automotive injury. Whether it's a fractured joint, a brake, or if your car just got its bell rung, no problem. We can even do a complete physical on your car to make sure it's game ready for the entire season. So bring your car to Westside Auto Pros and we'll get it back in the starting lineup in no time. Hey, you guys are dogging it back here. Let's move it, move it, move it.
You want to get stronger, faster, healthier. You want more. You want to be part of something bigger than yourself. A place for people of all ages, all walks of life, that provides opportunities for all to succeed. We do that. We're the why. Build more than muscle. Build a stronger community.
Mid-American Energy and you, together partnering to change the energy landscape by pioneering money-saving, energy efficiency programs and building a new industry in Iowa, wind energy, all while keeping your rates low. So what's next? We'll keep delivering cost-effective energy efficiency programs while putting money back in your pocket. That's right, you decide how best to spend your savings. That's a partnership good for you, good for the environment, and good for Iowa. Another way we're obsessively, relentlessly at your service.
From the Thunderhead Sports Bar and Grill on Ora Labor in Ankeny, I'm Jimmy Olson on CISN.TV. And, of course, we want to thank all of our guests for tonight. Tom Wilson, Athletic Director and Head Football Coach at Dowling Catholic High School, for talking with Dar Danielson. Also, a former Iowa State hockey coach, Al Murdoch, who was chatting with Clayton Sampson about hockey tonight. And then Andy Pollock also sitting in and talking basketball with Dar. We're going to do this all again next week right here at Thunderhead Sports Bar and Grill on Ora Labor in Ankeny. So for Dar Danielson, for Clayton Sampson, I'm Jimmy Olson on CISN.TV.